All right, hey guys, welcome to Vanishing Gates. I'm Jay, your host of Strange and Unexplained Paranormal. We're back listening to the committee hearings on UAPs, and I am live right now on Facebook, folks. If you want to be tuning into these live shows and you're watching on the YouTube, you check us out on Facebook. It's Vanishing Gates, and put on that notification when you see we're live. Hop in and say hi in chat. In the meantime, let's get back to these digging in to what's going on.
Thank you. I would now recognize Mr. Elizondo for his opening statement.
Greetings, Chairwoman Mace, Chairman Grothman, Ranking Members Connolly and Garcia, and members of the committee. It is my honor and privilege to testify before you on the issue of unidentified anomalous phenomenon, formerly known as UFOs.
There's still UFOs, damn it.
Men and women in uniform across the intelligence community, as well as my fellow Americans who have awaited this day, thank you for your leadership on this important matter. Let me be clear. UAP are real.
Oh, he said anomalous, not aerial.
Or any other government are monitoring sensitive military installations around the globe. Furthermore, the U.S. is in possession of UAP technologies, as are some of our adversaries. I believe we are in the midst of a multi-decade secretive arms race, one funded by misallocated taxpayer dollars and hidden from our elected representatives and oversight bodies.
Dude, and that's interesting because right now the Pentagon can't account for something like $80 trillion or $800 billion or something. There's like some giant fortune cache of money that the Pentagon just can't account for. I don't know exactly how much it is. Let me actually look that number up before I stick my foot in my mouth too far. Missing Pentagon money. Where is it? I like how we have to put a year on it, 2024. Oh, sorry, $4 trillion, not 800 billion. I'm ridiculous. $4 trillion. So they can't account for 4 trillion with a T. The Pentagon can't account for. Yeah, so Mr. Elizondo might be onto something here.
For many years, I was entrusted with protecting some of our nation's most sensitive programs. In my last position, I managed a special access program on behalf of the White House and the National Security Council.
I just want to say this dude right here looks kind of like a bald Joe McHale.
As such, I appreciate the need to protect certain sensitive intelligence and military information. I consider my oath to protect secrets as sacred, and I will always put the safety of the American people first.
Hell yeah, brother.
With that said, I also understand the consequences of excessive secrecy and stovepiping. Nowhere was this more apparent than in the aftermath of 9/11, which many of us remember all too well.
Yeah.
I believe that America's greatness depends on three elements. A watchful Congress, B, a responsive executive branch, and C, an informed public. For the last decade and a half, I learned that certain UAP programs were and are operating without any of these elements. Although much of my government work on the UAP subject still remains classified, excessive secrecy has led to grave misdeeds against loyal civil servants, military personnel, and the public, all to hide the fact that we are not alone in the cosmos.
And that's true. Like, if you're watching on YouTube the last episode, the last video I did, I said, hey, you know, the people that used to claim to see UFOs and stuff and aliens, we can't just call them crazy anymore. Now we have to approach that more objectively. We have to go and say, okay, well, the government's just admitting we don't know what's going on, but there is something happening. So now that instead of just completely ignoring it at face value, we have Congress going, okay, well, obviously something's up. We have whistleblowers coming out of everywhere. Yeah, I know they're all trying to sell a book or something. Every one of them seems to be trying to sell a book or a show, a series on Netflix, pardon me, etc. So, but at the same time, though, this is taking like real standing because these folks are testifying under oath. When you testify under oath, you risk going to jail for perjury.
A small cadre within our own government involved in the UAP topic has created a culture of suppression and intimidation that I've personally been victim to, along with many of my former colleagues. This includes unwarranted criminal investigations, harassment, and efforts to destroy one's credibility. Most Americans would be shocked to learn that the Pentagon's very own public affairs office openly employs a professional psychological operations officer as the singular point of contact for any UAP-related inquiries from citizens and the media.
I actually wouldn't be surprised by that at all. That would be my first go-to. I'm not gonna lie, is hire a psychologist to talk to these people first. Like, I just, and this is how it is. I mean, yeah, now we have to approach it differently, but in the past, if someone just didn't know, dude, why does everyone in this audience look like they're all gonna turn into lizard people at any moment and kill these people, including the cameraman? Look at him. He looks pissed. He's like, "Why are you getting me on camera? I'm supposed to be behind the camera, Jim." You know, he's gonna get in a fight with the other cameraman after that. I bet there's a bar brawl between this cameraman and the other one afterwards. But back to this, because this is important though. I make jokes about everything. Aliens could land on my front yard tomorrow. I'm probably gonna get a war started just by cracking jokes.
This is unacceptable. Many of my former colleagues and I have provided classified testimony to both the Department of Defense and the Intelligence Community Inspector General. Many of us have subsequently been targeted by this cabal with threats to our careers, our security clearances, and even our lives. This is not hyperbole, but a genuine fact, and this is wrong. To fix these problems, I propose three principal actions. First, Congress and the President should create a single point of contact responsible for a whole-of-government approach to the UAP issue. Currently, the White House, CIA, NASA, the Pentagon, Department of Energy, and others play a role, but no one seems to be in charge, leading to unchecked power and corruption. Second, we need a national UAP strategy that will promote transparency and help restore the American public's trust at a time when the public's trust is at an all-time low. This strategy should include a whole-of-government approach, including the academic and scientific communities, the private sector, and our international partners and allies. Third, Congress should create a protected environment so whistleblowers desperate to do the right thing can come forward without fear. As it currently stands, these whistleblowers suffer because of stigma, a code of silence, and concerns about retaliation. These whistleblowers should be encouraged to come forward in ways that protect them against any forms of retaliation. Policies and procedures should ensure that protection, and for those who refuse to cooperate, it is up to the members of this committee and the other lawmakers to wield their subpoena power against hostile witnesses and prevent additional government funding to those UAP efforts that remain hidden from congressional oversight. In closing, we as Americans have never been afraid of a challenge. In fact, we thrive on them, whether it's eradicating polio or going to the moon. We don't run from a challenge, we take it head on. To the incoming administration and Congress, I say to you, we need immediate public transparency, and this hearing is an important step on that journey. If we approach the UAP topic in the same way as we, as Americans, have met other challenges, we can restore our faith in our government institutions. Together, we can usher in a new era of accountable government and scientific discovery. I believe that we as Americans can handle the truth, and I also believe the world deserves the truth. Thank you, esteemed members of Congress, for your time today. It is profoundly appreciated by many.
So here's my question. Why do they always do this right after a presidential election? These things come up, these hearings happen almost immediately after a new group is taking power in our government. Are they hoping that something will change? Now, the last time it happened, the last few times, this has been happening every couple of years now. It's a ramp up of these, quote, disclosure things. We've been talking about it for quite a while now, and we haven't really gotten anything substantial directly from the government. There could be a number of reasons for that. Most of them seem to stem from the idea that the government's probably got stuff that they don't want us to know about. They definitely don't want our enemies around the world to know about. Makes you wonder. I mean, technology boomed pretty quick in the last, 100 years. Things were really picking up. But the last 50, 60 years, or maybe 70, 80 years now, things really started to ramp and kind of explode. It didn't take long to go from steam engines to full-on computers, it feels like, in the grand scheme of the world. Then you look at like ancient technology that they had, what they would use for like electroplating, the Baghdad battery, things like that. And it makes you wonder, what's going on, man? Like, and you have to, with these kind of hearings, you got to take it a little more seriously than we used to. I wonder how long it'll be before they either come out and say, no, we were just doing this to scam you all because we didn't want to pay attention to our economic problems or what's going on in Russia and Ukraine and China and the Middle East. Or, hey, My real name's Yaw, but he takes off his mask and he's an alien from Persilon Epsilon Jimmy Fallon. I don't know. I don't know, man. Aliens. Jimmy Fallon is definitely an alien if there's aliens on planet Earth.
Thank you. I ask unanimous consent for Representatives Ogles
She's
of
still hot.
Tennessee and Boebert of Colorado to be waived onto the subcommittee for today's joint subcommittee hearing for the purpose of asking questions.
And she
without
wants to know if
objection,
there's
so ordered.
aliens.
I would now like to recognize Mr.
Even hotter.
Schellenberger for his introductory remarks.
Chairwoman Mace, Chairman Grothman, Ranking Member Connolly, Ranking Member Garcia, members of the subcommittees, thank you for inviting my testimony. One of Congress's most important responsibilities is oversight of the executive branch in general and the military and intelligence community in particular. Unfortunately, there is a growing body of evidence that the U.S. government is not being transparent about what it knows about unidentified anomalous phenomena, and that elements within the military and the IC are in violation of their constitutional duty to notify Congress of their operations. President-elect Donald Trump and former President Barack Obama have both said that the government has information about UAPs that it has not released. There are other explanations for UAPs than that they represent a new form of life or non-human life. Current dominant alternative theories, including those put forward by Arrow, are that UAPs are some kind of natural phenomena we don't yet understand, like ball lightning or plasma. They could also be part of some new U.S. or foreign government weapons programs, such as drones, aircraft, balloons, CGI, hoaxes, or birds. Whatever UAP...
It's birds! There's birds! It's all birds! I like that Arrow, the government agency that's supposed to be doing this. Look, this guy behind him, too. He heard birds, and he's having the same response that I am. This guy right here, look at this look. He's like, birds. It's birds. He's like, birds aren't real, bro. Come on, man. Like, what are you trying to tell us, Arrow?
UAPs are, Congress must be informed, as must the people of the United States. We have a right to know what UAPs are, no matter what they are. However, we now have existing and former U.S. government officials
ball
who have
lightning,
told
for sure,
Congress
right?
that Arrow and the Pentagon have broken the law by not revealing a significant body of information about UAPs, including military intelligence databases that have evidence of their existence as physical craft.
I want to know how they broke the law, though. How did they break the law by not releasing that information? Don't you have to know what they have before you can verify whether or not they broke the law? Isn't that weird? Like a weird statement to say that the government's breaking the law by not disclosing this, like the Pentagon or whatever intelligence agencies are breaking the law by not disclosing this information? Because if something is found to be a huge threat to national security, there is a limitation of knowledge that can be passed about. There are like smaller amounts of information that get leaked out to certain people, even members of Congress and the Senate who are, way up there. So it's like people forget in the U.S. there's the president and his branch, there's the House, which is the representatives, and then there's the Senate. And they're equal powered. They have equal power. The office of the presidency, or the executive branch, has equal power as one person to have the veto power. But the laws are made in the Senate, and the bills are passed in the House. So it's like they're equal but separate. That said, you have so many people in there, like, who's to say who's someone you can trust in an elected official? Because you can elect a knucklehead. You can elect an idiot that you do not want having national security clearance. And that's totally vindicated, I'm sure, unless it's like the president, who is the head of the military. In that case, the president should have full disclosure as the head of the military, because our armed services need to know what's happening in a situation where we could go to intergalactic war. Space Force, to the sky! I'm just saying, man. Thank you, Angry Cops, for that one.
One of those individuals is a current or former U.S. government official acting as a UAP whistleblower. This person has written a report. This is the report that says the executive branch has been managing UAP, NHI issues without congressional knowledge, oversight, or authorization for some time, quite possibly decades. Furthermore, these individuals have revealed the name of an active and highly secretive DoD unacknowledged special access program, or USAP. The source of that document told me, that the USAP is a strategic intelligence program that is part of the U.S. military family of long-standing, highly sensitive programs dealing with various aspects of the UAP problem. The new UAP whistleblower claims that the U.S. military and IC database includes videos and images taken using infrared, forward-looking infrared, full-motion video, and still photography. The report that was just shared with Congress says Immaculate Constellation serves as a central or parent USAP that consolidates observations of UAPs by both tasked and untasked collection platforms. Immaculate Constellation includes high-quality imagery intelligence and measurement and signature intelligence of UAPs, the whistleblower's report adds. The sources of this intelligence are a blend of directed and incidental collection capabilities, positioned in low Earth orbit, the upper atmosphere, as well as military and civilian aviation altitudes and maritime environments. The report to Congress details in detail various UAPs, including spheres, orbs, disks, saucers, ovals, triangles, boomerang, arrowhead, and irregular organic. The report describes various incidents found in the human intelligence databases. One involved
Space
orbs
Force
surrounding and forcing an F-22 out of its patrol area. In another incident, the crew of a Navy aircraft carrier watched a small orange-red sphere rapidly descend from a high altitude of 100 to 200 yards directly above the flight deck of the CVN, or aircraft carrier. And since my reporting on this Immaculate Constellation last month, another source came forward who told me that they saw a roughly 13-minute-long, high-definition, full-color video of a white orb UAP coming out of the ocean approximately 20 miles off the coast of Kuwait. It was filmed from a helicopter. Then halfway through the video, the person said the orb is joined by another orb that briefly comes into the frame from the left before rapidly moving again out of the frame. The person discovered the video on SIPR, the Secure Internet Protocol Router Network, which the DoD uses to transmit classified information.
That sounds like he probably shouldn't have leaked that. I mean, I know he's a whistleblower, and that's why he's being anonymous. Because you are protected by whistleblower law, if you're seeing something that could be hypothetically detrimental to how things are supposed to be run in the day-to-day, this is why Edward Snowden is considered a hero to a lot of people. I'm not going to get into all the details of that, but maybe that's what we're looking at here with this whistleblower. He sees, hey, there could be some serious threats to the American people, and we need to have this addressed by Congress.
Leading UAP researcher who utilizes the Freedom of Information Act to find out what the government knows, John Greenwald, told me last year that the U.S. government had been increasingly denying his request for UAP information. He has been doing FOIA requests for 27 years and has an archive of 3 million pages.
We watched this in the last video.
The government has for decades denied any interest in UFOs, he told me, but the documents that he has assembled show that behind the scenes it was a completely different story. Contrary to the hopes of many advocates of transparency, the government has been restricting more information since the leak of 3 UAP videos in 2017. The DoD organization AARO has been labeling many documents with a B7 exemption, which Greenwald says does not make any sense. They're stating that anything AARO does is involved in law enforcement investigation, which allows AARO to not release it. Greenwald says the DoD has denied the existence of a UAP and ATIP-related records on multiple occasions, only to acknowledge them after an appeal was filed. He added that the Naval Air Systems Command in March 2022 stated they found no additional UAP videos. It seemed strange that they had 3 and only those 3, but other requests had been filed by the Black Vault, that's John Greenwald's group, to seek out more places UAPs might be hiding. Then in September 2022, the Navy admitted that the UAP-related videos and photographs existed, but denied the request in full for their release, saying that the requested videos contain sensitive information that are classified and exempt from disclosure. The DoD will deny things on a Monday and then admit to it on a Friday, said Greenwald. He said the government can and does release videos that protect secret methods of capturing it. They fall back on the sensitive platform excuse a lot, he said. However, the on-screen information can be blurred and scrubbed. The metadata can be removed. I'll show you this example here. This is a presentation from the UATP task force. This is completely absurd. It's nuts. This level of censorship, of redaction, on redaction of how many reports they've collected, for how many years. 2 of the 3 potential explanations are blacked out. The Pentagon.
Bro, that's so much redaction. There's no information there at all. There's a couple of headers. It looks like something you'd see if you played Call of Duty Black Ops back in the day. It gives a file and just blots everything out. That has to be what my grandfather's CIA record looks like. I don't know, man. That's freaking funny, bro.
The intelligence community is treating us like children. It's time for us to know the truth about this. I think that we can handle it.
Oh, he did the reporter thing. He did the serious reporter thing. We took his glasses off. All of them do that when they're at the congressional hearing. It's a power move to take off your glasses. If I had sunglasses on every time I needed to make a point, power move. Now you know it's serious because he can't actually see you straight. I've never understood that. I know I'm digressing here, and I have to have some levity because this is a huge, heady thing that we're talking about here. This is maybe life altering, probably not, realistically. There's probably aliens hanging out, chilling. If you see those random people, you think there's something wrong with that guy. There's probably an alien. I mean, who else buys 1,000 bottles of baby oil? Puff Daddy.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. I would now like to recognize Mr. Gold for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Chairwoman Mace, Chairman Grothman, Ranking Members Connolly and Garcia, Representative Moskowitz, and distinguished members of both subcommittees. I'm grateful to all of you, as well as your intrepid staff, for the opportunity to testify, and would like to begin by discussing courage. Courage is what it takes to tackle this topic, and courage in the face of adversity is what I see in front of me, beside me, and behind me.
Bro, he was in NASA for what? 3 years? 3 years this guy was with NASA. I'm just going to point that out. In 3 years, NASA pissed this guy off enough where he's testifying in front of Congress about aliens. He either knows something or they should have paid him better.
Per my introduction, I am currently the Chief Growth Officer at Redwire Space and have had several leadership positions at NASA. That being said, I want to be clear that I am speaking exclusively on my own behalf and not for Redwire, NASA, or any other organization. However, I am here today to speak out for science. Science requires data, which should be collected without bias or prejudice. Yet, whenever the topic of UAP arises, those who wish to explore the phenomena are often confronted with resistance and ridicule.
Okay, so am I the only one that saw the guy with the backpack and the hat walk in? I'm sorry, I don't know why, but red flags always pop up in these kind of things. You're talking about aliens and a guy just walks into a room full of people testifying about aliens to Congress and a dude walks in with a backpack. I would think there'd be some kind of security there at the door, but they just let that dude right in. Maybe he's a cameraman.
For example, members of the NASA UAP independent study team, particularly those in academia, were mocked and even threatened for simply having the temerity to engage in the study of UAP. Our best tool for unlocking the mystery of UAP is science, but we cannot conduct a proper inquiry if the stigma is so overwhelming that just daring to be part of a NASA research team elicits such a vitriolic response. Therefore, one of the most important actions that can be taken relative to exposing the truth of UAP is to combat the stigma. And this is where I believe that NASA can be eminently helpful. The NASA brand is synonymous with hope, optimism, and credibility.
And
If
not
you were to take a
sending
walk
teachers
down the
into
National
space.
Mall, you would immediately see the NASA logo on t-shirts, hats, and bumper stickers. Few federal agencies enjoy this kind of popularity. I've never seen anyone wearing an Office of Personnel Management t-shirt, which is why NASA could play such an influential role. Specifically, NASA could, with relatively little cost and effort, host symposia on UAP, or even just participate in existing panels examining the topic. NASA personnel stepping forward and participating in such discussions would make a powerful statement to the scientific community that UAP should be taken seriously and researched accordingly.
So, fun fact about NASA: NASA doesn't send people to space anymore, and they haven't for a while. We were sending them through Russia before the whole Ukraine thing, and then after that, we've been using Elon Musk to get people that are trapped in the space station back home. So, just a heads up, NASA is kind of becoming irrelevant. Here's what I wonder: if we have all this alien technology, why don't we have the ability to go to the moon? Anybody want to answer that question for me? You remember when NASA said they lost all that technology in a fire in like the way back in the day, in like the 90s, I think they said they lost 60-year-old technology. We haven't been able to replicate how to get out of our atmosphere with a human being since the Cold War. Just throwing that out there. We haven't gotten out into the actual space again. We have a space station that's in orbit of Earth, in a layer of atmosphere of Earth. It's multiple layers of atmosphere to the Earth. How is it we can't go back to the moon with today's technology, especially if The government has all this information from aliens. You would think that NASA, as a government agency, would be privy to some of this information. Well, they haven't been able to go back. And why? What have they been doing with their time? Sending drones, basically, rovers and stuff, to distant planets, but never people. I wonder what's going on with that. It just seems a little odd to me whenever the NASA thing's brought up. So, folks, if you're live, stick with me. But if you're watching on YouTube, we're going to go to the next video here. I'm going to end this one for you guys and catch up the next one. Probably be out tomorrow. I'm Jay, and we'll see you in the next video, where we will continue. It's Jay with Vanishing Gates here, your host into the strange, paranormal, unexplained. We're still listening to the hearings from NASA. Or not NASA, but from the whistleblowers testifying to Congress about UAPs. And let's continue on where we left off. All right. Let's see what fella has to say.
In regard to research, NASA has vast archives, much of which may contain important UAP data.
But not how to get to the moon.
For relatively little cost and effort, NASA could create an AI or ML algorithm that could search the agency's archives for anomalous phenomena. I suspect that such an effort would not only result in information that will help us to understand UAP, but could result in data that will assist in other areas of scientific inquiry, such as anomalous weather or meteorite activity. Beyond its existing archives, NASA could act as a clearinghouse for civilian and commercial UAP data. During my work on the UAP Independent Study Team, it quickly became evident that there is no clear or well-publicized process for civilian pilots to report UAP sightings. The stigma associated with UAP hampers the number of pilots that would report such phenomena, but even for those who overcome the stigma, I believe the current FAA guidance is largely unknown and poorly understood. In order to effectively collect UAP data, the independent study team recommended the use of NASA's Aviation Safety Reporting System, or ASRS. This system, which is administered by NASA and funded by the FAA, provides a confidential means for the reporting of safety violations in a voluntary and non-punitive manner. Over 47 years, the ASRS has collected nearly 2 million reports. ASRS is the perfect tool to collect UAP data, which could then be collated by NASA and shared with the public at large.
Okay, it took that organization a very long time to disclose what really happened when the Challenger blew up over a seal. And people died, and that was a very horrendous situation. And then they didn't disclose to people for a very long time what actually was befated to those poor astronauts and what happened to them on the way back into the Earth. And it was not pretty. I don't know that he's correct in this. I think that opening the books up for private individuals to have a wellspring of knowledge so that private industry can do it. I'd prefer that private industry were involved in the space race more than, say, the government. I think there should be some government oversight for anything that regards us leaving our atmosphere, you know, just because there's so many national security risks and things like that. But I think I like what he's saying there. I mean, think about it, though. The reporting process for an individual who's seen a UFO or a UAP or whatever is basically non-existent. You get laughed at. Look at the Phoenix Lights, where there's tons and tons and tons of witnesses. And for years and years, there was a story of this pilot that reported seeing these lights and reported it to the tower. It's on documents, on legal documents, on the tower. The tower saw it. There's evidence of it. They knew it happened. They didn't know what it was. And that pilot turned out to be Kurt freaking Russell, the actor. And he didn't even realize that it was some famous event till years later. So, you know, what are we doing with this information? It should be easier for people to report, and it should be a bigger database. And if there's evidence of these things, and there's things that can help benefit our society that we found, I don't see why we don't at least divulge chunks of it. And maybe we have. Maybe that's why we have these handheld computers all the time. Maybe that's why we're able to stream the internet all the time and do shows like this. Maybe that's where that came from. Who knows? But it would have been cool if they would have said, hey, we got this stuff from aliens. People would have been so much faster to buy the technology. It would have been the best marketing tool ever. You just say, now we're flying to space with alien technology. And you know what? People would just, it would be it. They'd be on board. It'd be gangbusters.
Leveraging ASRS could create a treasure trove of UAP data, potentially hundreds of thousands of reports, supporting this hearing's goal of exposing the truth. And I'm grateful to our 2 co-chairs and other members who have already incorporated this idea into proposed legislation. At this hearing, and as others have demonstrated, the UAP issue is justifiably dominated by national security and defense. However, I would urge the subcommittees to keep in mind the numerous ways that NASA and the FAA, as well as commercial activities in the air, in space, and in the water, can generate a massive amount of invaluable data on anomalous phenomena. I cannot help but be excited by the potential for such an endeavor, since scientific discovery is driven by anomalies. It's the existence and study of anomalies that led to the theory of relativity, quantum mechanics, and nearly all of humanity's scientific breakthroughs. This is why the study of UAPs should be embraced, since whatever is occurring, the chance to garner new knowledge should never be ignored. We must be thorough in collecting information, fearless in making conclusions, and open to following the data, no matter how mundane or extraordinary the results may be.
Okay, guys, give me 1 second.